So, this is a response video to a video that Shelley Swearingen put out, well, today, if you live where I live, and yesterday, if you live where Shelley lives, about why booktubers disappear. Hello, everybody. Welcome to and welcome back to my channel, Book Time with Elvis, with me, Mark. And it is just one of those videos that lends itself to a response, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a negative thing. So I'm certainly not having a go at Shelley. I agree with her on many points. I just want to give my own 2 cents worth to this discussion as to why I feel booktubers disappear and why I myself have disappeared on occasion as well. I think largely what Shelley says is correct. In this video, Shelley discusses the reasons that she believes many booktubers, creators who make videos, etc., decide to eventually stop putting out content and sometimes disappear altogether without so much as a buy or leave. In the video, she pretty much divides things up into three main categories, I suppose we can say. Algorithmic issues, evolution, and perhaps even the books themselves. The evolution area focuses on creators becoming overwhelmed with the lively community of BookTube, this wonderful community we're also glad to be part of. They overreach themselves, overbook themselves with too many events and activities and things like that. The readathons, buddy reads, all that kind of stuff. And it can get you down, certainly. I've experienced that myself. With regards to the algorithm, well, this is just something that I think remains almost an eternal mystery, to be honest. Because as Shelley says as well in her video, there are plenty of intelligent and eloquent booktubers who don't reach lofty heights at all. Like yours truly. No, I'm only kidding. Well, am I? I don't know. Maybe not. But yeah, I mean, that's certainly something to consider there. And, I'm a big believer in the concept of luck when it comes to the algorithm rather than foreknowledge or particular work. I mean, there are things you can do, I suppose, in your favor, but these are topics that I discuss usually every Wednesday with Randy Ray from the Literate Texan on our lives, so you can kind of check those out should you wish to. And then the third point, I suppose, the book itself, it can be where, I guess, where the creators, the YouTubers, the booktubers, somehow follow this destructive path of comparing themselves, comparing themselves to other members of the community, other creators, comparing their analytics, their subscriber counts, things like that. The idea of the perceived success, or what the perception of what success is, and even on occasions comparing the amount of reading they do or the amount of books that they manage to complete compared to other booktubers. Those are the three main areas I think she looks at. Five main points we can look at this is that she talks about. See, I don't like to script things, so I have a few notes in front of me. I don't like to read, but obviously if I'm making a response video, I do have to refer back occasionally to things and also refer back to things in my rather unreliable memory at the moment. But certainly, I think 5 main points that Shelley raises in her book are things like this failure to evolve, the overwhelming, the feeling of being overwhelmed, overscheduling themselves with regards to all sorts of different events, biting off more than one can chew, for example, overambitious TBRs, too many scheduled buddy reads, signing up for too many events, readathons, online book clubs. And this is something I definitely concur with, and it's definitely been something that has led to my own periodic moving in and out of the BookTube community. I did step back a lot from taking part in organised events this year. I just found it too much, especially when you are trying to juggle real life with your hobby. And I think this moves into point number 2 for some people, is the inability to adapt to changing schedules and time constraints that real life imposes on you, so that it can stop you being consistent in how often you upload, because consistency does seem to be the key for a lot of people. You'll find that the most successful channels generally will be ones that show a strong degree of consistency across the channel when it comes to the uploading schedule that they choose and stick to, whereas a lot of people, myself included, tend to do their booktubing when their life allows them to. So it can be more sporadic, and I think that does reflect itself within the algorithm. I mean, if you happen to be, a mother or father, and you have to, deal with children and all the, running them to different sports events all the time, that's going to cut into the time you have for reading, and ultimately, of course, it's going to cut into the time you have for booktubing. Another thing that she points out is the relationship that booktubers have between, or with rather, the YouTube algorithm itself, when they look back at the analytics and they're not getting what they would consider to be good views, because the analytics information on YouTube is extremely interesting, but it can be extremely demotivating, as I was talking about in one of my previous videos, to do with my experience and experiment, if you like, of making shorts throughout the month of September. We can see through the analytics exactly, like when it comes to shorts, how many people swipe away and how many people stay to watch. That can be demotivating. We can see as well, as Shelley mentions, how well the video is doing in comparison to other videos in your channel, such as the green arrow showing improvement. Then you have the green check that shows that you're just doing okay, is about normal for your channel, and the grayed out arrows showing that particular content or video that you've uploaded is actually doing worse, for want of a better word, than your other content. So I think that can definitely skew your view of success and how you measure it if you base it on those metrics. And that leads into her other point about people and how they believe that the amount of effort you put in guarantees algorithmic reward. I'm not so sure I'm with Shelley in principle on this one, or the theory of it, but I don't think that many people ultimately believe that. I don't think people, to be honest, I think it's very naive if you think that you spend 10 hours making and editing a video that you would, or that you somehow would be guaranteed or even deserve algorithmic reward for doing that. I don't think that's true. It'd be nice, of course, if the amount of effort you put in was rewarded, but ultimately, of course, you just never know. You're at the mercy of the algorithm, you're at the mercy of luck, you're at the mercy of people's tastes and interest, and if you can grab them in the first few minutes and first few seconds even to keep them interested, hook them in, this kind of stuff. So I think your hands are tied, or that you would be, I think you would just be extremely naive if you were to think that the effort guarantees algorithmic reward. So yeah, I don't think people actually believe that. But then I don't know. I don't know how many people Shelley has surveyed in doing this video. I haven't surveyed anybody. I've just kind of gone with what I have from my own experience as somebody who has periodically gone. It's always funny how when I've made a goodbye booktube video, it suddenly does extremely well. And then you think, well, actually, maybe I'll hang around. You know, so, it has happened to me. It's happened to a few others. I think there was a creator I used to watch. Is Anne with a book? I haven't seen her around because I think she left, but she made this video saying, why I'm quitting BookTube, and it kind of went into the tens of thousands of people watching it, and I was thinking, blimey, she probably thought she didn't want to leave then. And Shelley does also mention how that, like, apparently you can. I think Shelley mentions it. I can't remember now. Apologies, Shelley, if you did mention it, or somebody else if they said it. But about being punished. I think it was in Shelley's video about being punished by the algorithm on your first video back. Now that certainly happens too, because I got a lot of views when I left BookTube to deal with the my move from one house to my apartment to my current house. And I thought, oh, great, I'm bound to get loads of views as I'm coming back now, because all those wonderful people who watched and commented and said how sad it was I had to leave for several months would definitely come flocking back to my first video. And of course they didn't. It rather performed poorly. But then I suppose if the algorithm works like it does, or it seems to work on things like Facebook, that your lack of consistency moves you out of people's orbit, moves you down the subscription list. It's almost like a self-perpetuating thing that you need to continually produce the content to feed the algorithm to keep your channel in people's consciousness, so to speak. But yeah. And then a final point that she mentions is allowing comparison to become the thief. I can't speak. Allowing comparison to become the thief of joy. Why can't I speak today? Oh my goodness. Maybe this explains a lot. Maybe I'm not as eloquent as I think I am, but she states that old adage, comparison's thief of joy, and states it's true on BookTube. And I do think there's a lot of mileage in that point. I think that's true. I think all of us are guilty of it, even if we say we're not. We always look at other BookTubers and think, why are they more successful than I am? I am so much better spoken. I am so much better looking. I am so much more widely read. Why on earth am I not as successful as they are? And we do that. I think we do that. And people who say they don't, maybe in certain special cases it's true, but people who say they don't often would be, I think, telling porcupines, frankly, because we're all looking around. And especially when we see people who get a lot of success and we compare ourselves against them, and we can be flabbergasted by it. We can be absolutely shocked and annoyed and frustrated by it, especially when you have some people who can barely string a sentence together. Who knows? It's a mystery. Probably. Sorry, it sounds like Elvis was trying to get in there. I don't know. So that is definitely something everybody's guilty of, I think, in this. And it is something that is very damaging and can, I think, build up this disillusionment you might have with BookTube and be part of why you would leave it. Why you might decide to leave it. It is a shame, as Shelley points out, that she would rather, of course, people posted once a month and just disappeared altogether. I think that's a fair point. I think I would rather that as well. I do find it very sad as well when people do just disappear, and we never know necessarily what happens. Some people do have the habit of returning, though, like bad pennies. Certain people do turn up again, for better or worse, which is a nice thing. But ultimately, I think the primary reason why BookTubers disappear is, primary reasons, let's say, why BookTubers disappear are, as Shelley says, it becomes too overwhelming for them. I think real life gets in the way. They're unable to maintain the level of reading they feel is required to be a competitive BookTuber. We might not like to think of this idea of competition, but in some sense, I think there is an element of competitiveness in it. Not an unfriendly form, of course, but, we all want to be the best we can be. And that leads into my primary point. And I think it's the demotivation factor that is born out of failing to set your own expectations. That's the problem. I think too many people think that they will be successful when they go in there. Too many people have too high an ambition or too high hopes, and they expect it to be quick. And, I think I've said in a different video that to get over 1,000 subscribers puts you in the top 9% of all of YouTube, right? That's not even just BookTube. So to get 1,000 subscribers plus, you are in the top 9% of all creators on YouTube. So you have done extremely well to get to that point. And so to go into it thinking you're going to be the next big thing, for 99.9% of people, is that right? My maths? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm trying to say. For most of those people, it's going to be a huge disappointment. It's going to be a huge disappointment seeing your slow channel growth, seeing your lack of success, especially when you measure up against other people you started with, which again is a big, big mistake. So I think in order to succeed in BookTube is to know your limitations, set your expectations at a realistic place, and be prepared for a gradual slog to get to different points. Some people can jump from 0 to 3,000, 4,000 or more subscribers within the space of a few months. I've got to where I've got in 4.5 years. Others haven't even got to where I've got after doing it for, 7, 8, 9 years. It's just something you cannot put all your eggs in one basket and think, oh yeah, I'm gonna be the most amazing YouTuber / booktuber ever, and then when it doesn't work out like you want in a couple of months, to give up. And I do think, sadly, that is one of the primary reasons why a lot of people disappear. It becomes not worth it, especially when you combine it with the amount of time that sometimes it can take for people to do as a hobby. If you are editing your you can tell I don't edit. I'm umming and ahhing and knowing and all this kind of stuff, and I'm trying to speak mostly from my more and more feeble brain capacity, and I think that it becomes just too much. They haven't got enough hours in the day. You haven't got enough hours in the day to read a lot of books, to kind of fit in. I mean, it's all very well saying, okay, you only have to read one book a month to make a BookTube video. That's fine, but then you cannot expect to explode or grow in the same way as somebody who's reading more and putting out more videos more regularly, and more kind of what's the word I want? More more consistently. There we go. Got there in the end. So yes, it's my little reply, agreement with Shelley's video. Do check it out. Do check out her channel, of course. I doubt she needs any help from my little channel, but yeah, I think it's an interesting topic for discussion and one worth looking at. So anyone who's thinking of starting a channel, go ahead and do it, but do it with the right motivation and the right sense of expectations as to where you hope to see yourself in a few months. I think it's very fair to be, to make small incremental goals of going from 0 to 50 to 200, that kind of thing, rather than saying, oh my gosh, I've been doing this 6 months now, I haven't even broken 1,000. Yeah, for most of us, it's going to be a long old slog, but something we love doing and worthwhile doing, and you make some great friends. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, my friends. Do take care. That's all from me now. All the best. Cheerio. Bye-bye.